doing their jobs. See, how do you explain? Somebody says that I'm the doctor, I've gotten to the hospital, but there's no ward mate to clean up the environment for me to work. How do I work? At the end of the day, there is no water. So how do I now come and say that? How do you now come as my employer to say, Oga, you are not doing your job? Oga, how am I supposed to do my job in this field?
Okay.
So we pay salaries. That's what government is interested in. Paying salaries, but not providing the enabling environment for people to perform and do their jobs.
0805 699 8678 or 706 949 3000. We'd like to hear from you. But I also want to discuss the cost of these strikes. Hello. Oh, we're there. 0805 699 8678 or 706 949 3000. 0805 699 8678. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening, Oluwaseun.
Good evening, thank you for
joining us. Good evening,
us.
everyone in the studio there. I'm Oluwaseun.
Welcome, Oluwaseun. Let's do this quickly.
Now, I said something, I think yesterday when you are anchoring your program. I said it seems the only language that this administration or this government understands is strike. Just the way you have analyzed when you started that the issue of strike has been with subsequent governments. But it's becoming too much. Why? Because we want to believe that this administration promised us change. But what is so important is now students gradually they will be going on strike. Doctors are on strike. Judicial workers are on strike. Now, we cannot mention others that will now join. But we don't know why government is fighting more than what it can chew in the aspect of providing amenities for its people. Provide one, maintain it to the standard that people will enjoy. Now, doctors on strike, coupling with Mr. President that has jet out on excursion on medical in London. Now, coming back, going out there to enjoy the best treatment and allowing Nigerians here to wallow and die off from their sickness and ailment is not good. But what is so important is I will appreciate it if our government will stand up to the task and do the needful by making sure that they now build a good hospital and make sure that it's being maintained so that Nigerians will enjoy it. But trying to bring things that are not comfortable for us as Nigerians, honestly, people will react. And these people, what you have just mentioned now, newspaper for senator, millions, another thing, and 5,000 naira for hazard allowance. That is good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oluwaseun Julius, for your contribution. We still want to hear from you. 0805 699 8678 or 706 949 3000. Yemi Alabi says, I've opined a while that I'm yet to find any country that practices 90% medical education subsidy across board and pay commensurate remuneration at the system. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, thank you for joining us. What's the name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Ayodele. I'm calling from Olatunbosun.
Ayodele from Olatunbosun. Welcome.
Yeah, see, the problem is both the government and the people. I want to talk of our own experience today at Adeoyo here. You see, people that are employed to even work, all they can shout on, but they never do their job the way it's supposed to. My wife went there to complain. Last week she went for antenatal. So she's supposed to be there. Last week Friday, she went there to complain. They said they are on holiday, public holiday. Now she went today that okay, our EEG date is 29th, and they told them that it's supposed to be 10 if it is 10 days after they should come. If the baby did not come. She went there today. Another one has sent already that all the doctors are on their inside theater. So no doctors should come back to us. When she was now talking to me often, I was just hello.
Hello, yes, I'm listening. I'm
listening to you. One of the nurses has come again to now ask her to come back. Now I said, now if you have left, she will go back tomorrow. They are not bringing her. Why is she coming now? She said she came on Friday. They said they are already. This is the way all of them behave. They abuse those people. Anything public in this country, they treat us as if those people that they are paying with government, they treat us as if they are nothing. It is the fault of them and government. But the government is supposed to put enough measures to know that they are working with it. But those people too, they don't work. That's the point. Thank you.
To pay you.
So if my wife is going for antenatal, they tell her that.
I go to a private hospital.
Tunde, did you just say that?
Yes, I said that. The skeletal service on those days.
Even in a hospital.
Yes.
In hospital.
And that's why I say the skeletal service on those days.
Well, Yemi said, when we go completely bankrupt and unable to fund the obscene amount we spend on governance, we will do the needful.
See, let me quickly bring this up. When in the US, they were going to scrap what they called Obamacare, that's universal health care, health insurance, they interviewed some doctors and their perception to it stunned me. They said, you know what, if you take universal healthcare coverage of people, it means that people will no longer be able to afford to go to the hospital. As at when due, especially those that have terminal ailments, and they will all become cases of emergency because they won't go on time because they can't afford it. Now, when they become cases of emergency, it means that the emergency room will be flooded. And that, don't forget that it will be too expensive for government. And he was asked why. He said, do you not know that in the United States, the government is 100% responsible for all emergencies that come to the hospital?
Wow.
So it means the government is going to spend more attending to emergency in terms of money than
routine checks.
But allow people to just get insurance and be there.
So it means that it can cascade. Government can do its part. Allowed, healthcare is expensive in the US.
Anyway.
I have accessed healthcare abroad, and I can tell you. I remember I told you when I was swallowing a certain analgesic that was cost two tablets was 3,000 naira equivalent in Nigerian naira, and every time I swallowed it, I felt like I was swallowing money because I'm like
6,000.
I mean, every 2 tablets was 6,000 naira, and the guy said take it morning after, and I'm like see, once in a day is okay. I will sleep the rest. I will sleep the rest. It's expensive.
Damn expensive.
So we asked a question. I mean, last week I was speaking with some doctors, and I said, even if we choose to build these facilities and put all infrastructure in place, can we maintain it if we don't begin to empower our people economically enough to be able to pay for these services? If we don't begin to focus on getting primary healthcare centers functional in such a way that people stop going to tertiary health centers to treat malaria.
We're back to local government today.
And then we're back to what?
Local government. Yeah.
See?
So
it always circles.
We'll get back to that point. So, Michael, your final word on this. What was something else?
Yeah, you see, I like Yemi's perspective that you have a country that practices 90% medical education subsidy across board and pay commensurate remuneration at the same time.
It's not possible.
You see, I have issues with this narrative. And it goes back to the populism, the unholy populism that you have in this country. See, we were talking about schooling abroad. Last weekend we were talking about schooling abroad. To do a master's in a cheap university in UK, you spend about £6,000. That's about 7 million naira. But in our backyard here, with 150,000 naira, you do a master's degree. See, we are making ourselves jokes by thinking that education must be free. Education that is free. You go to university, spend 4 years in university to study mass communication. You come to Splash FM where we put you before the microphone and you cannot talk. What kind of education is that? It is rubbish. Let's stop pretending that. Let's stop pretending that. Let's stop pretending that. You see, let's stop pretending. See, the governor, when during his inauguration, announced that he was cancelling 1,000 naira that they were paying per term. But you see, a lot of people were happy, but they are sitting on the ground.
We clapped for him.
That's a joke.
You see,
That's a joke.
I don't think the biggest problem we have is the
Education
almost
subsidy.
90% subsidy on our medical education
Not just medical.
and some other ones.
All courses.
You see, you need to be able to situate, what is going on. What is the per capita income of somebody living in the UK
Oh, okay.
compared to Nigeria? If you want to train and produce doctors for your country, you should do everything possible, understanding their realities to make it possible for them. Don't forget that our problem is not that we lack good doctors.
No.
It was just in UCH that they delivered the set of triplets via IVF.
Triplets, yes.
It is the lack of planning that will make you subsidize them through school, only for you to train them
And then send
to
them
another
back.
country.
And so they do
Let
West
us
African
not
examination
deceive
of medicine.
ourselves.
Exactly. So can you
Everybody
keep them?
Everybody in life, if you have a conducive environment, will choose to stay at home. It's not a nice feeling leaving your home for
Going to
another country.
where you are a visitor, where you are a stranger.
That's why if you check the most developed countries of the world, their people, their citizens hardly travel. They hardly even get to know anywhere else.
I'll give you data. The India, for example, India sent a lot of Indians went to the US to study. But they have realized that about 78% of them come back home after studying in the US.
So what are their governments doing? What are their own
What is their
governments
government
doing?
doing? Even
They
China.
are irresponsible. You
Even
see,
China.
we should.
They come back
it is the
home. Why did they come back home?
government.
Because the opportunity is
Of
there.
governance.
Now,
You don't train people for free and then allow
send
them to
them
go.
out.
It
I'm
doesn't
one
make
of
sense.
those that will tell you that
But your minister
we're
said-
not a rich country.
your minister
But-
said it's an export.
It's an
We have
export.
Export.
We have just about enough.
Is it Mr. Chris
To
Ngige
set up-
that you're talking about?
He's a medical doctor as well.
I use the word Mr. intentionally.
Okay, today, conclude your thoughts, sir.
Sometimes I just sit down to think about the costs of, Mr. President's treatment abroad.
Not that you are thinking, you are just imagining it.
Yes, because it's not cheap.
Because you.
How can doctors
I hope you are
back
fully.
home
I hope you are
angry
fully
of
aware.
low pay? Is the president being treated?
I hope you are
free of
fully
charge?
aware that everybody
When his son
with him
was involved in an accident, unfortunately,
Germany.
Yes.
they flew in
to Germany.
To Germany.
from Ibadan here. They flew in
Yes.
the best surgeon
In Nigeria.
to go take care of him in Abuja. He was fully operated on. He was fully stabilized.
Fully
and then what
stabilized.
happened? They took him to Germany. Things like those. Those
Hello?
they should shame us.
Hello, good evening. My name is Abiodun. I'm calling from
Good evening. Good evening. What's the name? Where are you calling from? Good evening.
I'm Abiodun. I'm calling from Atete.
Welcome. Let's do this quickly, Abiodun.
Okay, I totally disagree with Mr. Michael regarding education being cheap. Because I believe it's a product of that cheap education also, and it's doing very fine. The major thing we should consider is this: the economy of this country. In 1983 to 1985, I believe a naira to a pound was not more than 5 naira. That means we were paying maybe 6,000 naira as school fees, which is equivalent.
Are you there? Oh, the network is.
I'm there.
Yeah. All right. Conclude your thoughts quickly.
Because
We lost him.
We
I agree with him.
Yes.
Education is one of those essential elements that if you can
Can afford it.
if you can afford it, subsidize it as much as possible.
But you must complement it.
You must complement. You must make it
Don't
quality.
complement it.
Don't
This
give
is where I'm coming
free
from. In terms of
education.
complimenting.
We have just about what it takes, and I'm
Yes.
very serious about it,
Okay.
to complement it.
When I say compliment, this is where I'm
Yes,
coming
yes.
from in terms of complimenting. You don't produce graduates for them to start selling weave on
On
Instagram and WhatsApp.
Yes.
That's not the whole. When I say compliment, the environment, the economic environment of the country must be able to sustain basic employment.
See, it all starts with education.
I know. See, it doesn't matter the number of graduates we produce right now. If there are no places for them to work and develop and do research, you are going to throw them out of the country.
How many of them have the skills to survive in the industry?
When I say education, I'm not just saying go to school to get certificates. I'm talking about education.
Yes.
Okay. Compare, even in Nigeria, compare the region where you have. Compare the southeast, which is about the most educated in terms of the the percentage
to population.
To population. Compare that place to maybe the northwest. Let's even grant it that the quality of education they are offering in that place is still cheap.
Okay,
I will take any day, anytime, a well-educated society, no matter how poor
they are, no matter how
a
poor they are,
society
right?
where they are not yes, no matter how poor they are.
I want
to a society where they are not educated at all. Because you are actually dealing with a sub-zero situation.
I like to round up this. I know this. We can't.
Because they will not be arguing over other things.
I might bring back this argument, of this issue of education cheap, subsidized and expensive and the rest. I know we've had this before, but let's not go on with it. We have to close now. One thing that Tunde Bakari, the pastor of Nazarene Assembly now, under name, I can't remember the name now, said the major limitation of the decision of President Buhari has been the failure to appreciate the fact that the problems of Nigeria are more deeply rooted than these honest efforts can reach.
Honest efforts.
Honest effort.
Are we really making honest efforts?
You see,
close on that.
To make honest efforts, you have to have honest understanding, of the problems. But you see, the president, the subject of this discourse, doesn't have an understanding of the problems.
He also said our problem requires a holistic and systematic approach to governance. These are English for me.
It's just semantics.
Let's look at a few things. Let's look at a few things.
About 150, different terms.
See, let's look at a few things. When the Constitution of the United States of America was going to be put together, 55 people. Some of them lawyers, some farmers, some different people came together and put together a constitution that was a reflection of their reality, their environment.
Okay.
And then amendments started coming in as life was progressing. So you have First Amendment, Second Amendment, and they continued like that. When we were going to get our Macpherson Constitution, there was provincial consultation. There were regional consultation before the Constitutional Conference took place. The current constitution we are under, Justice Nikki Toby, with about 23 to 25 other people, sat down together on instruction of a military government to put together a constitution for us that became a constitution by military decree. The person that won election at that time, President Oluwaseun Obasanjo, never saw a copy of that constitution until he was sworn in as president in 1999 to govern and run this country by that constitution. So you see the journey. So we look at that same constitution as it were now and attempted, every time we attempt to say let's do a review of that constitution, everything goes berserk. Because the foundation of the entire thing was more like nothingness. So as a matter of fact, how can you operate that constitution and run this country efficiently?
Well,
the problem,
we have to go now.
You see, the constitution we have now is what we have. What I expect of a forward-looking leader who understands that what I have is a mandate of 4 years and at best 8 years if I get re-elected, and I want to leave a legacy, is to honestly
Back to the word.
Look at the Constitution. And where you see errors, where you see flaws, where you see lacuna, make move through the instrumentality of the National Assembly to change it. I have not seen any executive bill from President Buhari to the National Assembly that seek to amend the Constitution in a way that addresses the collective pain
Of the people.
So that's Bakari's statement. Is just Mr. President is his friend. So this is just a face-saving statement with absolutely no substance, as far as I'm concerned.
Michael, we have to go.
He did not tell the president to sign the Electoral Act amendment. He didn't. You see, all these big people, they are just pretending that they are with us.
Okay, pretensions.
That's my take.
Tunde, Olawowu, thank you for being here today. And I'd like to thank Tunde Onokoya for also being here.
Thank you for having me.
Michael Olatunbosun, thank you for coming.
Anytime.
I'm Oluwaseun of Akinola. May this nation survive. Good evening.